We are finally back with episode 2 of the Mallory Rock Hunt a Killer investigation. To go over a quick recap of what happened in episode 1, we were contacted by Michelle Gray, who is a private investigator. I'm not sure if we work for her or if we are somebody that she uses on the side to help with certain investigations. It doesn't really matter, I guess. We were asked to help Gwen Ferris investigate her sister's death. The body of Beth Ferris-Hendricks, who is Gwen's sister, washed up on North Beach on the island community, or in the island community of Mallory Rock. The body was found by passersby. Police investigated and decided it was an accidental death. They determined that she probably fell off of a high cliff area called Ballantine's Bluff, or Ballantine's Bluff, and she hit her head on the way down when she fell, and then she accidentally drowned. Gwen doesn't believe the story. She doesn't believe it because Beth is deathly afraid of heights and would never have gone up to the top of Ballantine's Bluff. And so she wanted help because the police have closed the case. They've said it was an accident. Sorry. In the first investigation, or episode 1, we did reach the conclusion that she went into the water at Vanishing Beach and not Ballantine's Bluff. And we did that by looking at riptide charts and other tide charts. And it was a process, but we figured out that that's really the only place she could have gone into the water was Vanishing Beach. So that led us to believe that it was not an accidental fall and that something else has taken place. We're not going to go over all of the characters, but the main characters to date pretty much have been Jody and Martin Hendricks, and those are Beth's in-laws. Joey Hendricks is Beth's husband, and Ruby Hendricks is Beth's daughter. Gwen Ferris, of course, is Beth's sister. Jordan Woodard also sort of struck a note with me in an interview in a magazine, and he seemed extremely arrogant and condescending. And so right off the bat, I just decided that I didn't like him. And then the minister, Clarence Reaver, who is the minister at the church on Mallory Rock. And the reason he sort of got me curious was because on his memorial service handout, he'd written in code on the back something along the lines of, "How will I ever forgive her?" What exactly did it say? Hold on. It was... Is this it? "I must try to forgive her." So we don't know who he's trying to forgive, but that's just odd. And it was a book cipher that led us to that led us to solve that code. So that really catches us up, and now we are in part 2, and we're going to look and see where part 2 takes us. We're going to start with the letter from Gwen, and the detective. "The last time I saw Beth, she was fidgeting with the damn stone. She was fidgeting with the damn stone so much she almost dropped it in her coffee. Finding that the only real evidence of her murder is labeled hope." And we'll look at the stone in a minute. "I'm not sure how the stone will help, but I figure it'd be more use to you than me right now. I already showed it to Sully. For once he agreed with me, said they must have been wrong about Ballantine's Bluff, but even with that, he can't reopen the case. Convincing Sully of anything is like teaching a rock to jump. I did finally get him to bring me some paperwork about Beth from the police department, but we'll still need more." So Sully is one of the officers that was at the crime scene. It turns out that apparently Sully and Gwen, the sister, had some sort of a romantic relationship that she broke off with him. Not that that's important, but that's sort of something we discovered in the first episode. Jody, Joey, Joe, Joey and Ruby have been staying with Jody and Martin. Joey and Ruby, husband and daughter, staying with Jody and Martin, mother and father-in-law. Seems Joey wanted to be even closer to his parents since their house is empty now. Since I was able to get into Beth's home office, from what I can tell, she was the last person in there. Okay. Beth was always a neat freak, so I'm sure she'd hate how I treated her office. I went through everything. I tore out her planner page from the day she died and grabbed whatever looked out of place. A note from Jody, an obnoxiously loud flyer, and a necklace wrapped in a note from Sam Gundy to Joey. Not sure what happened there, but I can't believe that whack job still asks Joey for favors. I've also added some new items to the shared desktop. To access the virtual desktop, the password is still Porter, and Michelle said change the password for the case file to Seagull. You'll find screenshots from our neighborhood forum on Good Fences. Beth was a moderator, and her friend Lee or Leah, I've seen it pronounced both. The Mallory Rock forum has been down for a bit. I've included, I'm going to say Lee's email for more info. But Lee sent me admin level screenshots of all the posts from the day Beth died. I've added Ruby's video too. The other new item is a link to a cloud file service Beth was using called KeepSafe. It's password locked, and I think she was keeping her work on there. There might be some information that can help. The one time I spoke to Michelle, she suggested that confirming Beth's timeline could help and eliminate suspects. Whatever Beth was doing that Friday eventually led to her death, so I'm hoping if we track her movements, we'll learn when she was killed. All I know is that Beth was supposed to meet me that afternoon around 4:30 to talk about what to do with Mom. Their mom is, I don't remember if it's Alzheimer's, early onset dementia, but she struggles with recognizing and remembering people. Beth didn't show up until 4:45. I was so annoyed that she kept me waiting. I am not sure that a 15 minutes late is keeping you waiting. Sorry. And even when she got there, she was distant and distracted. It seems stupid now. I should have just asked her what was wrong. I figured she just lost track of time, and Beth never forgets anything. She never forgot anyone. Okay, well. And that's why we can't forget about her. Everything else in the godforsaken rock might have been willing to... Everyone else, on this godforsaken rock might have been willing to write her death off as an accident, but I know someone killed Beth, and now we have proof of where it happened. We just need to find out when it happened. If you can figure out the path that day, you might be able to narrow down the timeline of her murder. When you do so, use the contact button and whatever. I'll try to put together a list of suspects based on what we know so far. Let me know what you come up with. Okay. So let's go look at, first off, the rock that she was referring to. And this is the rock right there. And it's just a shiny rock that has hope embossed on it. And that's the rock that she's referring to in the letter. And then the necklace that she's referring to in the letter is this. And we will talk about both the rock and the necklace in a minute. Let's get to the autopsy and figure that part out now. We'll go here, and we'll blow it up a little bit more. I'm not going to read everything because although they were very thorough, and I feel like they did a great job with this autopsy report, there are a lot of things in here that aren't really imperative to the case. For example, well, I'll show you. So I'll show you when we get to it. So, they're saying the mechanism of death was asphyxia due to drowning, wounds consistent with blunt force trauma to the back of the head. So she did have a wound on the back of her head. Um, the defendant was a Caucasian female who, for unknown reasons, ventured to Ballantyne's Bluff late Friday afternoon or evening. Her body washed ashore on North Beach and was discovered by boaters at approximately 11 a.m. the following morning. The body was caught on driftwood and found with most clothing intact. Post-mortem injuries on the body were found over or around any ante-mortem injuries. The post-mortem injuries made it difficult to determine the exact circumstances of the fatality and were consistent with those found on bodies which decompose at sea and with scavenging behavior of animals known to inhabit the area. This just talks about the autopsy, etc. I'm trying to find. Oh, come on! You are going to annoy me. All right, I'm not gonna be able to do it like that. Good Lord, I'm having trouble today. All right. So this lists what was on her person when she was found. Light blue blazer, waterlogged. Light blue pants, waterlogged. A white long sleeve blouse, waterlogged. Underwear, waterlogged. Stockings, socks, ripped and waterlogged. Brassiere, waterlogged. Two small silver hoop earrings. An analog watch, waterlogged and damaged, reads 1043. A smartphone, waterlogged and damaged. A key ring with keys, and a wallet containing credit cards, driver's license, and business cards, waterlogged. Estimated time of death. The watch on the body shows evident water damage. Tests on similar watches suggest the watch could have stopped somewhere between 30 minutes to 7 hours after submerged in water. So, the watch says 1043. So, already right now, we know that the watch would have stopped 30 minutes to 7 hours after she entered the water. So 1043 minus 30 minutes is 1013. So she died somewhere between 3:43 in the afternoon, because 10:43 minus 7 hours is 3:43, and 10:13 at night, based on what we have just learned right here. And I hope that makes sense to everybody. We have to subtract the 30 minutes from the 10:43, which is what gives us 10:13. So we know that the latest that she was possibly alive, the absolute latest she was alive, was 10:13. So we've answered one page into this, we've answered one of our questions already. Now we just need to decide or determine the rest of it. I'm just scanning. This just basically is saying, giving details. The injuries: blunt force trauma injury with minimal cranial fracture resulting. So 1.27 centimeters by 3.81 centimeters. So there's about 2.5 centimeters in an inch. So it seems like it's about a half an inch high, like half an inch tall, and about 3 inches long or wide. And that's not exact math. If we need to know, if we need to find a murder weapon and we need to get exact dimensions, we'll come back to this. But that's what it's looking like to me. And then this, looking at the body, it just really shows the only real injury is this one in the back of her head that we were just discussing. And I'm messing this up because just because. So the skeletal system, the respiratory system, that doesn't matter. The gastrointestinal system I'm going to talk about because I thought that was a path I should take, and I'm going to tell you what I did. I'm going to tell you how it didn't matter. So this is saying that the stomach contents oh, and I even read it wrong. So what I did, I don't know why. I read this. It says that approximately 75 milliliters, mostly digested food, is found in the small intestine. And I don't know. For whatever reason, I took that as 75%, and I don't know why, because that doesn't indicate, that's not a misunderstanding that I should have made. I just read it too quickly. So I went and Googled how long does it take to digest food, blah, blah, blah. And I tried to come up with a timeline based on how much food was still in her stomach with the 75% in my mind. And that really didn't matter because it wasn't a thing. And then here are the tox screens, and everything is negative. Like, basically what this autopsy shows is that she died of drowning, that she fell, and that she wound up drowning. So I'm going to read the summary real quick. And then we're going to move on from there. And the reason I'm struggling is because I have to read this report is because I have horrible eyes. And I'm struggling, even with my glasses on, to read this. According to the rate of decomposition of the body in 44-degree Fahrenheit salt water and preliminary Lysiancid amphipod scavenging of only the lower abdomen, the body must have been found within a 24-hour period after being submerged. Furthermore, because of what we know about the brand of wash described with the clothing available section, it is presumed that the body entered the water no later than 10:13 p.m. and no earlier than 3:43, which is the conclusion that I came to before I even got to this part. Seawater aspiration led to systemic hypoxemis causing myocardial depression, reflex pulmonary. All right. No defensive wounds or ligature marks were present. Cause of death is drowning, evidenced by fluids in the lungs, throat, and sinus cavities. Given the body's proximity to Ballantyne's Bluff, we determined that the victim fell from a height, hit her head on the way down, and drowned while unconscious, unable to self-rescue. And that was a horrible reading job, but basically all 5 of these pages just come to the conclusion that she wasn't under the influence of anything, that she hit her head, that she wound up drowning, and that she went into the water sometime between 3:43 in the afternoon and 10:13 at night. Well, we know the 3:43 timeline is going to get narrowed down because we already know that she saw her sister at 4:45. So we've already decreased that 3:43 timeline down to 4:45 without going any further. Now we're going to discuss the family. I keep wanting to say victim statements, but they're not victims. The family statements about where were you on the night of, or the day of, or the evening of, blah, blah, blah. And so this is Martin Hendricks' statement. And he was interviewed at his home. Mr. Martin Hendricks was interviewed at his family home by officers Alex Castillo and Sullivan Combs, Sully, 2 days after the body of Beth Ferris-Hendricks was found. Mr. Hendricks is the father of Josiah, Joey Hendricks, and is the deceased's father-in-law. Beth and Mr. Hendricks both worked on the town council and frequently met at the Hendricks residence. Officer Castillo called Mr. Hendricks into the kitchen, offered condolences on our behalf, and led with asking how Beth was feeling when he last spoke to her. Mr. Hendricks was... You know what? I am struggling too bad reading this on the screen, and it sucks, and I don't know why, but I'm going to read the actual papers because hopefully that'll make me seem less illiterate. I don't know why it's such a struggle today for me to read these. Officer Castillo called Mr. Hendricks into the kitchen, offered condolences on our behalf, and led with asking how Beth was feeling when he last spoke to her. Mr. Hendricks was pensive but forthcoming, stating that Beth had come by that afternoon to discuss matters relating to the town council. He did not disclose what exactly those matters were, but mentioned he had been helping her with a proposal. Mr. Hendricks reported that he felt she had some frustrations with how slowly things were progressing, saying, I tried to assure her that we were doing all we could, but you know Bethy. Very headstrong, that one. Mr. Hendricks then described the rest of that day as an eventful one. He said work was hectic and he had somehow forgotten about his usual get-together with Joey that evening. Mr. Hendricks explained that he and Joey would often meet on their old family boat. Our heads are clearer out there, and it's admittedly an excuse to spend time with my busy son, he said. He later claimed that he rushed out of the house as soon as he remembered, and that on the way to meet Joey, he received an urgent phone call from Gwen Ferris, who asked him to check on the pool's pump room at the Mariners Lodge. He reported that a valve had broken, causing the room to flood enough to trigger the silent alarm. After waiting in and fixing the problem, Martin said he was so soaked that he called Joey to cancel their plans and headed home to dry off and get some sleep. He guesses around 11 p.m. Okay. So that's his account of the evening. This is going to be his wife's account. This is the family statement of Jody Hendricks. Mrs. Jody Hendricks was interviewed at her family home by officers Alex Castillo and Sullivan Combs 2 days after the body of Beth Ferris-Hendricks was found. Mrs. Hendricks is the mother of Josiah Joey Hendricks and is the mother-in-law of the deceased Elizabeth Beth Ferris-Hendricks. After sharing condolences for the family's loss, I asked Mrs. Hendricks about her relationship with Beth. She responded promptly, practically cutting me off before I could finish the question. Mrs. Hendricks indicated that Beth had been a sweet addition to the family. Of course, she said they weren't without their disagreements, but the two reportedly got along as well as any mother-in-law, daughter-in-law pair. Mrs. Hendricks then recounted the events of the day, noting that she saw Beth coming to the house that Friday afternoon, worked up into a tizzy, to talk to Mr. Hendricks. Mrs. Hendricks said that she was unable to gather what had her worked up, but reported that she and Beth exchanged words briefly before Mrs. Hendricks went to take a bath. I was an absolute mess coming out of the garden, she said to us. She appeared nervous, or at least uncomfortable, rubbing non-existent dirt from her fingers and looking about the room for something. It was so easy for dirt to get stuck underneath your nails, you know. It's just not a proper look at all. Officer Castillo asked whether Mrs. Hendricks saw Beth leaving the residence, but Mrs. Hendricks quickly shook her head and said by the time she was finished washing up, Beth had already left. Mrs. Hendricks then reported she spent the rest of the evening cleaning around the house until she and Mr. Hendricks settled to watch some television and talk. She recalled that Mr. Hendricks left in a hurry at what must have been around 9:30 because he was late to meet Joey. Those two work on the boat every Friday night, but I'm fairly certain they just sit around and drink beers. Not sure what for when they could just meet here, but boys will be boys, I suppose. Before he left, Mr. Hendricks reportedly helped Mrs. Hendricks with her medicine and tucked her into bed. Mrs. Hendricks appeared relieved, saying, "Martin will tell you, I have always been a light sleeper, but believe me, I didn't even hear a single firework." Mrs. Hendricks later reaffirmed that after Mr. Hendricks left, she fell asleep quickly and did not hear any news of Beth until the following afternoon when she was notified by the police. So from those two statements, we sort of get the picture that whether they're being honest or not, they sort of both have an alibi for that day. But we will see how that goes, you know. I want to go down here. This is Joey's statement. And Mr. Josiah Hendricks was interviewed at his workplace by officers Alex Castillo and Sullivan Combs 2 days after the body of Mrs. Ferris-Hendricks was found. Joey was married to the deceased. Witnesses reported the two had argued the night before at a local restaurant. Officer Castillo found Joey cleaning up his office and packing boxes. When asked what he was doing, Joey informed us that he had planned to move in with his father and work from home soon. His haggard appearance suggested a distinct lack of sleep. Officer Castillo proceeded to ask about Joey and Beth's relationship. Joey stopped what he was doing and shrugged, saying, "It wasn't perfect, but she was my wife." I then brought up the witness's account of their argument the night before and asked what they fought about. He claimed it was nothing significant and couldn't remember. When pressed, he shook his head and said, "Whatever it was, it's not important now." Then we asked Joey to run us through the day of Beth's death. He looked exhausted, finally taking a seat at the desk to talk to us. He rarely made eye contact, but he stated rather matter-of-factly that he worked most of the day. He reported that he had dinner with Beth and Ruby and then wasted the evening at home until it was time to go to have drinks on the boat with his father, who he was to meet at 10 p.m. After his father canceled, Joey claimed to have remained on the boat until the sun rose. He said when he returned home, Beth wasn't there. We concluded the interview by asking if Joey had any idea why Beth would have gone to the Bluffs. Joey's eyes began to water as he hit his arm on the chair. He responded with a raised voice saying, "No, I don't. Beth had a habit of running off when things didn't go her way, and I had a habit of not asking where or why." After a comments pause, Joey asked if we needed anything else and rushed us out of his office before he could answer. So I'm a little confused on that timeline. So this is a small island. I haven't looked to see if we can figure out what the dimensions are, but he's going to meet his dad on a boat. And he's saying they were going to meet at 10, and the dad was saying that he was running late, and the wife said he left at 9:30. I can't imagine there's any place on that island that takes a half an hour to get to, so I don't know why he said he was running late. These statements sort of conflict and confuse me, and so I'm really not sure what's going on there, or if I'm just reading too much into it, and maybe he was running late and it was only 9:30, but he had to stop and pick up the beer or whatever. Maybe, there's a difference between running late and being late. So if I make plans to go someplace and I have to be there at 10, but I plan on leaving at 9:45 because I have to make I plan on leaving at 9:15 because I have to make 2 stops, and it gets to be 9:30 and I haven't left yet, then yeah, I guess I am running late, and so that's a reasonable excuse, if that makes sense. If my explanation of how being late and running late are not the same thing. And the last statement we have is from Ruby. And Ruby is once again the daughter. Ms. Ruby Hendricks was interviewed in the living room of her grandparents' home by officers Alex Castillo and Sullivan Combs 2 days after the body of Mrs. Ferris-Hendricks was found. Ruby is the daughter of Josiah Joey Hendricks and the deceased Elizabeth Beth Ferris-Hendricks. Because Ruby is a minor, I asked whether she would be more comfortable speaking to us with her father present. She quickly answered no and asked if her grandfather could stay instead. That's interesting. Mr. Hendricks complied with the request and remained present during our interview. I asked some preliminary questions such as how she was feeling and what happened that Friday. Ruby seemed a little uncomfortable adjusting her clothes and pulling her legs up to her chest. She said that Friday had felt like any other Friday. I went to school, came back, got ditched, went to bed. Officer Castillo asked for clarification on getting ditched. Ruby shrugged and said her friends canceled plans with her. When asked what time she left to meet them, she shook her head and said, I don't know, 8? Officer Castillo then asked when Ruby actually saw Beth. Ruby recalled that she and her mother had made French toast together for breakfast and then met again for dinner that night sometime around 8 or 6 p.m. Ruby's voice broke slightly before she cleared her throat and continued through labored breathing. Mom gave me a couple of bucks, told me to save it for later, and then I left. She claimed she ran home after about an hour and came home to an empty house. But before Officer Castillo could ask any more questions, Mr. Hendricks suggested we continue at a later date, seeing how upset she is. So, Ruby is saying that she left at 8. Where did that go? Hold on. Gave a couple bucks, save it for later, and then I left. She claims she ran home after about an hour and came home to an empty house. So, so whatever time Ruby left, she got home an hour later, and the house was empty. So that's an indication that whatever time that was, Beth had been gone already. But we know that Beth was home at 6. So now our timeline has gone from 3:43 to 4:45. Now it's 6 o'clock. So now we know that Beth died sometime between 6 and 10:13. So our timeline is getting narrowed down a little bit. So let's go to the day planner and see if we can't get a couple of more questions answered. Let's do not that. Let's do this. So this is Friday, and we know Ruby said they had French toast together. Review post from yesterday asked Lee or Leah about Lighthouse Festival prep. Library books due. Call CB about Augusta account. Rescheduled due tomorrow. Haven't really thought about who CB was. It's probably important, but for this investigation, not yet. Picked up an egg sandwich for Maz. Need a coupon. Meet Gwen in the 4 p.m. hour. Maybe that's why she's late. Like her day planner is broken into hour blocks. So sometime between 4 and 5, meet Gwen. I think it's just a weird day planner. Portobello risotto for dinner. Ruby's going to the movies. Give her some cash. That was at 7. Try to sort things out with Clarence. And then wait up for Ruby. Find time to breathe. Look up a painting class. She crossed out yoga class. Print Ruby's community service form. Is Ruby doing community service? Did she go to jail or something? Tell Jay not to forget onions for dinner this time. And then Saturday's day planner. And Saturday's the day after, but let's see if there's anything important. Breakfast date with Ruby at 8. Meeting with JWE. We know that JWE is Jordan Woodard Enterprises. Return his docs, I guess. Conference call with the commission. Call CB. It's probably one of the Ballantyne brothers. Council meeting, LHF. Lighthouse tour with Amandine. Family dinner with Martin and Jody. Jody's making meatloaf. Bring substitute for Ruby. Make sure everyone's in bed early for tomorrow. I don't know what Sunday was supposed to bring, unless that was the Lighthouse Festival. Remember to enjoy the little things. Asparagus. Refresh KS. Okay. So, 8 o'clock. Try to sort things out with Clarence. Clarence is the minister. Clarence Reeves. Reaver, not Reeves. So apparently she's having an issue with Clarence. And then, to no surprise, meeting with JWE. In the first episode, I said that I feel like Return His Docs. I feel like that she had some business or something going on with JWE. So I was sort of right about that. We don't know what the business is, but we know that there was some business going on. I want to see. Give me 2 seconds. I feel like I missed something. I did miss something. Going back to Ruby's statement. So she left her house at 8 o'clock. Came home an hour later. So 9 o'clock. And Joey was already gone. She said she came home to an empty house about an hour after she left. So already Joey's saying that he was home with them until he went to meet his dad at their 10 o'clock meeting. And Ruby's saying, I got home at 9 and Dad wasn't there. So that's just something interesting to keep track of. So out of this, we just get that there's something going on with the minister, and there's something going on with Jordan Woodard. That's kind of what this day planner sort of teaches us. And then we get this note here from Sam, and in case you don't remember, Sam is what the heck is Sam? Sam is the lady who owns the holistic medicine shop. She's the yoga instructor. She's the daughter of Eddie Blue, the DJ who is now on the council, who's taken Beth's place. So this letter to Joey from Sam says, long time no see. Remind me, you're available for work, right? I was just taking a look around the shop, and not to be a bummer, but it needs so much work done. It's unreal. Do you remember when your dad stopped by and offered to build up the shop at a discount? Respectable rate? That was the greatest help when I just started out. Other contractors were just quoting me way too high, and it's really been disrupting my inner peace lately. You know, I always try to keep calm, but they wouldn't even account for me being a small business owner. I mean, don't they know it's always a huge risk to trust a new company? Ridiculous. Anywho, I hate when people say that. I noticed a leak in Mother Island's storage room. Not that it matters, but there's still that patch I got last time when the corner of the ceiling was all droopy. I tried shining a light through it. I'm not sure if it's rain damage or what, but I'm worried about it caving in or damaging the herbs back there. Do you think your dad would be willing to come take a look at it? Maybe he'll know how to fix it permanently, or if he's too far away, maybe you could come take a look at it yourself. I'm sure it's not even that big of a deal. Thanks, Sam. So, I don't know. This is the note that was crinkled up on Beth's desk that had that necklace in it. And it seems harmless enough, except that there is, on the back of it, all these circles. And as soon as I saw the circles, I said, it has to be a situation where you hold the note up to the light. and the words shine through, and that's how you solve it. And she even in the note says, I tried shining a light through it, which sort of seems out of place. But at the same time, it's telling you how to break this code. So if you I tried to figure out the best way, and I couldn't with the lights and stuff that I have on. There was no way for me to get on camera with the setup I have, me holding the paper up to the light. So I had to solve it, and you're just going to have to take my word for it that these are the order that the words appear in. Oh, I screwed that up. Ah, why can't I? And this is what, when you look at the words on the opposite side of these, uh, you're the greatest risk I was willing to take. So that's a little interesting, don't you think? That Sam and Joey are fooling around, or at least that's the way it appears. Um, and then the necklace that was in it, and I screwed this up, and I will get a picture of it for next time. But let me. So I took the picture the wrong way. Where this heart is on this fishing hook, and I don't understand the fishing hook thing. Maybe we're going to find out that that means something to both of them later. But where this heart is at the top of the fishing hook, on the other side, it's engraved with the words "Risk Taker." And I'll get a picture. I realized as I was making this recording that I photographed the wrong side. I'll get a picture of it for the next episode so that we can have it and look at it closer. So that's where we are here. You are the greatest risk I was willing to take. And that is from Sam to Joey, our murder victim's husband. And then there's dirt or something, and I don't understand why this paper is all dirty. I just don't understand it. Maybe it's something that we're going to find out about later. And then there was this note to Beth, and I don't see that it's that important. And I don't know that I need to really read it all, because it seems to me that it's a mother telling a wife how to deal with her son better, how to treat her son. Um, I wanted to thank you for being such a guiding light in Joey's life. After his accident, the world seemed rather dark for him. Martin and I try our best to be there, but I'm sure there are moments that none of us really comprehend. I know you're trying your best, but perhaps you could give him a bit more space. Yesterday he told me that you were upset about how counseling went, and I wanted to offer a bit of advice that, of course, you're free to disregard. You know, I've always admired your ability to face things head on, but relationships are different than town council meetings. You have to be more understanding of how difficult Joey's recovery has been. If you're going to have a successful marriage, Martin and I have not remained married for over 40 years without compromises. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to take a step back and reappraise the situation for Martin, and every time we're better off. If you're willing to let your pride go, I know your relationship will blossom into years of happiness. Now, I look forward to our family dinner on Saturday, and I hope you can resolve this conflict you're having with my son by then. Martin and I wish to see nothing but smiles that evening, and I'm sure you wish the same. You will be bringing a dish, won't you? We should coordinate. Best wishes, Jody. So I'll be honest, that letter really annoyed me. Like, I don't know. It just, Jody got on my nerves with that letter. Like, telling Beth how to deal with her marriage and telling Beth basically, leave my son alone, let my son be, let him do what he wants or whatever, and you just need to suck it up and deal with it, is sort of the way I took that letter to be. And so I really don't have a whole lot of respect for Jody right now. And don't forget, Jody is the one in the first episode. Gwen, who has hired us, wanted to talk to Martin about what happened to Beth and about the situation. And Martin was like, yeah, sure, we'll talk. And Gwen's like, can I come over Wednesday? And then all of a sudden she got an email from Jody being like, no, don't come over. We don't want to talk. Just let things go. So Jody is, I don't think, a good person. And Jody is also not very trustworthy in my mind. And then this is a note that Gwen found on Beth's desk. And it says, we are closed. I was just verbally assaulted in my own store for no reason. And for the safety of myself and customers, we're closing at 4:43 p.m. today. Any appointments will be rescheduled after I've cleansed the store of all negative energy, and will open tomorrow at regular hours. Namaste, Sam. So, apparently Sam was having a bad day. That's neither here nor there. I don't really care about that. It's interesting, but there are going to be things, and from what I understand, what I've seen in the 2 videos of the investigations that are no longer available that I watched, Hunt a Killer is good at putting what's called a red herring into an investigation. And that's not what I'm saying this is. What I'm saying is we're being given all these facts and all these situations and all this kind of behind the scenes chaos. And a red herring is something that they've put into the investigation to make it seem like it's something, when in actuality it's like a fake out. Like, we're making you think that this is an important part of the investigation, and it's not really an important part of the investigation. I don't know that this sign is an important part of the investigation as much as it is just a red herring. Although the sign, we will find out, does indicate something, and we'll get into that in a minute. But there are going to be things, we have the minister, we have Joey and Jody and Martin being weird, we have Sam, we have Jordan Woodard, we have who knows what else coming. This is only episode 2 of a 6-part investigation, so who knows what else is coming. But some of these things, some of these people that we're being introduced to, some of these situations that we're seeing are red herrings, and they're going to amount to a pile of nothing. And I think that's cool, because that means that not every clue that you're getting is actually a step to resolving the real case. And I really, really like that. So then we get to the desktop dashboard. And this, once again, is essentially, for the lack of a better way to explain it, this is almost a Google Docs or one of those services that we can share documents and information that's there for us to see, it's there for Gwen to see, and it's there for Michelle Gray, who is the investigator that has hired us for this or assigned us for this. Once again, I don't know if we work for her or if she farms jobs out to us when she's too busy to take them. I don't know that dynamic. But, so the 3 new things down here that are important. I'm gonna do this out of order. Actually, no, I'm not. So, these are all Good Fences posts. And A lot of it is just flavor, explaining that Beth died. She was one of the moderators, and Lee or Leah can't do it on her own. So Good Fences is going to be taken down, or inactive for a while until she can hire a moderator. And then you get posts in here like it finally happened. Someone, probably Summerfolk, was using the shower station in my yard. Blah blah blah. So it's just a community forum, and this may or may not have anything to do with anything. So this is innocuous. 8:32. Someone took a shower in her yard. They even took a dump in her garden. Oh wait, that was the one I just opened. Sorry. Someone is trying to fix their dryer and is looking to hire someone to help them with the gas line. JWE networking event, and we'll get to this. This is something, but I have it in a larger format. Somebody found a dog in a park. Somebody complaining that they're being double billed by the water bill, and the community comments. This is from Sam, and we're going to look at that in a minute. Someone wants to know the best place for dumplings. This is another JWE post we're going to look at. This is worst night ever. We're going to look at that post because that's important. This is a quick reminder from the group's admins to please read the guidelines for this group before you post. This is from Ruby, and we're going to look at that in a minute, talking about how she was stood up. And this is someone who wants to donate books. So that's what that is. This is Ruby's Click Clack video. And I need to plug in. I didn't have my headset plugged in. So if you give me a minute, I need to plug in my headset so that we don't get double volume when I press play. If that makes sense. Or double sound. So this is Ruby's Click Clack. And that was it. That's just Ruby's Click Clack. I wanted to play it because part of this Click Clack, or whatever, I think is going to be important for us to look at in a minute. And then, sorry. Is that all I want to do on here? And then Keep Safe. And we're going to get to Keep Safe in a second. But let's go over what we have here right now. And the first thing we have is the JWE networking stuff. And this is, don't forget, JWE is Jordan Woodard Enterprises. This is Jordan Woodard, who was another person I don't like. I'm sponsoring an event at the Last Bastion tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead, invite your friends and your family, stop by, grab a drink, and take a look at some of our newly renovated homes. Must be 21 or over to drink. And then Beth, who's a moderator, Just a reminder, but self-promotion is against the rules of the forum. And then Jordan replies to her, at Ferris Wheel, this isn't self-promotion. It's a community get-together. I'll even save you a drink. Just come and sit back and look pretty. JW. Um, and then, so he posted that at 10 this morning. And by 10:43, they had this conversation. And that timeline is not important at all. But this, since someone decided to lock my previous thread, I just wanted to remind everybody that I'm hosting a bar night at the Last Bastion on behalf of JWE. I'll order drinks to get us started. Just stop by my table before you leave. JW. And that was 7:08, reminding everybody. 8:29, I'm still here in case your schedules have freed up. We'll be here till closing, so come on down while there's still time. Your drink's still waiting at Ferris Wheel. JW. And the only reason that I thought that these were important was because this shows us that on the day of her death, she and Jordan Woodard had a disagreement, and not a big one. And I don't think someone's going to kill someone because they took down a post on a message board about a drink night at a bar. So I'm not suggesting that at all. All I'm saying is that it showed that there was friction between the two of them. Then this is our buddy Sam. And this is Sam's post. Needing to vent. So as many of you know, I am like the nicest person you will ever meet. But there's something that's been weighing on my spirit lately. I feel like I'm up against a wall with this acquaintance of mine. Our energies just clash all the time. And we've been at odds for over 30 years at this point. I honestly wish she'd just disappear. But I mean, you guys know me well enough to know that I would never wish harm on anyone. It's not for them, if not for them, at least to protect my own psyche. No need to take on bad karma, right? But enough is enough. This woman thinks she knows what's best for everyone when she doesn't even know the half of it. And her poor husband, my gods, I can't even get any contract work done at the shop without her complaining about it. To be fair, if my aura was as overbearing as hers, I'd probably be worried about my husband leaving for a better person too. You all should see her trot around the town hall. She treats me like I'm somehow less than her, even though we're supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be on the same team. I even went so far as to send her a peace offering, a very nice herbal skin lotion from Mother Island that's currently in stock, but she claims it caused her to break out. Yeah, right. My store is all homeopathic, and every item is charged for good manifestations. So if you broke out, it was something you did, not me. Maybe it was from micromanaging your husband and everyone else in your life. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I've just been so stressed lately because that woman keeps bringing all the negativity into my space, and I just want to be done with it. If any of you have experienced this before, how do you handle it? So we all know who she's referring to. And then some of the comments. You're ridiculous. Sam, are you okay? Jeanette. Doug Brown, doubt it. Samantha Gundy at Wild Fam. I'm fine, just a little frustrated. Thanks for checking in. And then Beth, why don't you try talking to them about it honestly instead of posting such a passive-aggressive note in a public forum? I've tried several times, actually. And Beth just replies, are you serious? And that was the end of the thread. Or it wasn't the end of the thread, but that was the end of Sam and Beth's participation in the thread. The rest of it is just people, are you okay, Sam? Or Sam, you're ridiculous, or whatever. And then the other post that we have here is worst night ever. Let's play a game. It's a Friday night, the only night you can get some decent sleep. There are people outside your window yelling about who knows what, but hey, I'm sure they'll stop soon, right? No. They'll keep on going for nearly an hour and a half. That's an hour or so out of your sleep. In case it hadn't occurred to them, some people have to wake up for work at 5 in the morning. Now, what could they be arguing about at this time of night, you ask? Well, they're so busy shouting over each other, and I can't really tell. But the lady in the blue pantsuit, what? Blue pantsuit? Okay, we'll get back to that. Must be awfully bent on getting an answer because she's still standing out there talking to this man who somehow seems even more uninterested in their conversation than me. What's your pick? Lovers quarrel? Break up? For those of you saying to just go outside and talk to them, I don't see any reason why I should have to go talk to them. They should know better than to be this loud at night. I have taken a peek out my window and I am in awe of all the people to be outside my house screaming. I'm really surprised that it's the Reverend. That doesn't seem to understand the importance of some peace and quiet. And then these are just comments, but this was at 8:14. So now we know at 8:14. The blue pantsuit. If you remember going back to the autopsy, and I'll take us back up there. In the effects right there, light blue blazer, light blue pants. So I'm pretty sure that it's Beth arguing with Clarence because remember on her day planner, she had at 8 p.m. she had written in there to work things out with Clarence. And so her and Clarence at 8:14 are arguing about something. We don't know what, but something. Where is the day planner? 8 p.m. Right there. She's going to talk to Clarence. So that's where that is at. 8:14. So now our timeline has gotten down to 8:14. So now we know sometime between 8:14 and 10:13. So we've narrowed it down to a 2-hour span of when possibly Beth could have gone into the water. And then here is Ruby's post. When your friends cancel plans. When your friends cancel plans, but you don't want to go anyways. So this is at 8:55. So we know, and we can see that she's in her bedroom. She's not at the movie theater or wherever she was meeting them. 8:55 p.m. She is in her room. So we know that when she got home, nobody was home. So Joey was not in the house as early as 8:55 p.m. I'd also like to comment that when she mentioned, Joey said he was having dinner with Beth and with Ruby. In Ruby's statement, she had dinner with her mom and didn't mention Joey. Now, that doesn't mean that he wasn't there. That may mean that because they were specifically talking about her mom, she was talking to the police about her mom. She just said that she had dinner with her mom. So I don't know if there's anything to that. But that's interesting. And then Jacob is trying to make excuses. He already had plans. Beth. At Ferris wheel, moderator. Hey there, sweet girl. You didn't need them anyway, smiley face. 9:10. So now we have Beth alive as late as 9:10 p.m. So we know that she left the confrontation with the minister, with Clarence, which was roughly an hour earlier. And at 9:10, wherever she is, she's alive, texting her daughter, hey there, sweet girl, blah, blah, blah. So that gets us to the point where we get to Keep Safe. And I open Keep Safe. And so I can't show you Keep Safe. But Keep Safe, and I'm going to open it to show you what I found, because this is locked, so I can show you. When I went to open Keep Safe, it wanted a password. And the password was 4 characters. And I thought, okay. And I typed in Hope, which was what was written on the lock, on the rock. Hope didn't work. I typed in Gwen. There's a lot of 4-letter names. I typed in Gwen, I typed in Beth, I typed in Joey, I typed in Ruby. None of those things worked. I scanned through everything again that we got, and I looked for some indication of what Beth could have used for a password. There was nothing there. None of that worked. And I was perplexed. And I didn't know what to do. And I sat and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And I couldn't come up with anything. And I will tell you that I had to go to the hints for this. And so Mallory Rock, episode number 2. And there are several sections. You can get hints or you can get reveals. I just went to the hints. And this will tell you some hints if you're stuck on some stuff. This is how you look at it. And so keep safe password hint number 1. Don't forget Beth set this password. Okay, we know that. That's not helping. I am not coming up with anything. The password prompt mentions shift. Maybe look again at your investigation guide on the desktop. So it's suggesting it's a shift cipher. Okay, but we don't know what the shift is. I looked through everything. I still couldn't find any indication of it being a shift cipher. And we'll go over what a shift cipher is in a minute. And there was nothing that told me how to solve the shift. There was just nothing in this box that I looked at that got me to how to solve the shift. How do you shift a stone? Beth had a favorite stone. I get that. I got that. When they said shift, I knew that the stone was the key. But I didn't know what to shift it against. There was just nothing for me to find. And then hint number 4. Did you receive anything of Beth's this episode or last episode that had a date and had something to do with light? Well, by God, yes, we did. We got this. And I'm trying to get it. And you can see where I'm going with this. A date. 1851. The shift. And we're going to go over what a shift cipher is. The shift in this shift cipher, the key is 1851. So how does a shift cipher work? Let us take a look. And we're going to go right here. So what we have is we have a text box. That's what we have. So we have a text box. And we have the word hope. Okay. Now I'm going to center this and make it a little bit bigger. I'd like it to be, if I can get it to that. We have the alphabet. And then we have what's going to be the solution. And we're going to make this 32. So in a shift cipher, we have the key, which is 1851. I guess we should probably put that in here too. So let's insert Another text box. Let's center it because I like centered things. Centered and justified. So we're going to do 1851. That's right, right? I read that right. Now I'm second guessing myself. 1851, yes. Okay. So what they're telling us is that the H gets shifted 1, the O gets shifted 8, the P gets shifted 5, and the E gets shifted 1. Okay. So what that means, if H gets shifted 1, the H becomes that. H gets shifted 1. So the H becomes an I. The O gets shifted 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the O becomes a W. The P gets shifted 5. So start at P. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The P becomes a U. And then the E gets shifted 1. So the E becomes an F. That is how this shift cipher works. That's how any shift cipher works. Sometimes they all get shifted the same amount. Sometimes they all get shifted the other way, and there should be clues that tell you which way the shift goes. There was no clue to tell me which way the shift went, so I just decided on first try to go up the scale instead of down. If up the scale hadn't worked, my next try I would have tried to go down the scale, which means the H would have become a G. The O would have become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a G. The P would have become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a K. And the E would have become a D. So it would have been GGKD if this hadn't worked. But IWUF did work, and it did get me into Keep Safe. And I don't know what to do about Cora, so I just let Cora go. Ruby, I'm going to look just to show you. It's just pictures of Ruby, and there's nothing really that gives anything away here, but since it's in here, we'll look at it. And that's Ruby. These are emails from Beth to Clarence, and they're important, and I have blow-ups of the emails. There's something going on in here. So we're going to take a closer look at the emails All right. Checking in. Hi, Clarence. I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to check in. After our last meeting session, you seemed kind of curt with me, and so I thought you might have been having a bad day. But you changed your tune as almost as soon as Joey walked in. So I have to ask if there's anything that I might have done to upset you. If so, I'd like to clear the air and apologize. Beth, your husband brought up good points at the last meeting, points to which I merely recommended you listen. I believe, all things considered, I have acted more than fairly towards you. Whatever problems you perceive is with you and not me. Clarence. And then wait. Once again, remember from... I was going to scroll up, but I'm not. Remember from the Memorial Service Program, handout, flyer, whatever, that this is a book code. We have the book. We know the book is the Bible. We know that it's the New Revised Standard Version, I believe is what that stands for. And that number 1 and 2 come from Luke chapter 1, verse 25. So if we would look at Luke chapter 1, verse 25, the first word and the second word in that are the first two words in this code. And so we will look at this code again. Let's get through the email first. Clarence, is this about the town council? I know we may not have seen eye to eye on recent policy, but that has nothing to do with my marriage. Aren't counselors supposed to be impartial? You agreed to this long before I took office. Hell, you were the one who suggested Joey and I even try talking to someone. Please, if there is something else that is bothering you, let me know. You have been such a help to us, and I would hate to lose you over a misunderstanding. Sincerely, Beth. Clarence to me, to Beth. There is no misunderstanding. If you are so offended by my humble opinion, feel free to find a more impartial guide. There are several wise counselors at your disposal, Clarence, and then there's more code here. And that is the end of Clarence's code. So now we're going to go over, I've solved it. I don't want to sit through the whole solution process for this. But let's, just as a reminder, let's go over, where was, I have the Bible verses written down. So, Luke, remember, a book cipher is when you know the book, and traditionally you'll have a cipher written with 3 sets of numbers. And the first set of numbers will be a page number. The second set of numbers will be a line number. And the third set of numbers will be... it'll be written like this. And this is just the example of how book ciphers are written. You'll get something, the first set of numbers will be the page number of the book, but you have to know what version of the book. Every time a book is printed or reprinted or printed from hardback to paperback, every version of a book may have the words and the lines different depending on the font size, depending on how many pages, depending on the size as far as length and width of the book. So you have to all be working from the same version of the book. But you'll be told page 134, line 25, word 14. And that'll be the first word of the cipher. And then you'll have to go to page 27, line 3, word 8. And that'll be the second word of the cipher. And so we used a book cipher to solve this. We had the book. We had Genesis 24:42. So instead of, with the Bible, instead of a page number, you have a verse. You have a chapter and a verse. And then this told us to look at word number 1. If that makes sense. So to do that again down here, where are you, Clarence? To do that again here, we are going to look up Luke 1:25. Okay, verse 25. So we need the first and second word. This is, etc., etc. And so as we go through this, we learned or decoded that the code says the first one. Remember, there were two emails, 2 different codes. The first one says this is your fault. And the second code says leave me alone. And so I don't know what any of that means. I don't know if this is if the trouble with Clarence is the red herring in this. We just don't know. And then the last thing that it's important for us to discuss is back in Keep Safe. the Jordan Woodard email, and I did not put this on a slide, but I don't think I needed to. Okay. So we're going to try to read it from here. Good afternoon, Mr. Woodard. This morning I noticed a discrepancy on your ledger between last year's adjusted basis of one of your properties and your reported tax information. I verified with all of the other documents you gave me from the audit, but I'm still missing last year's actual tax adjustments. Also, there are some large transactions that still need to be classified. When you've got a minute, give me a call so that we can set up a time to discuss. Kind regards, Beth Ferris-Hendricks, CPA. And CPA is an abbreviation, and I don't know. I should know. I have a friend who's an accountant, a couple friends who are accountants. I do know. Never mind. Duh. CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant. I don't know why it blanked on me, but that's what CPA stands for. Jordan Woodard to Beth. Oh, come on, Beth. There's no discrepancy. No, everything I gave you is as it says. I didn't get successful by listening to small-town accountants. I had to work for all of this. So if you want to find some imaginary problem with my ledger, you can keep it. I don't need you poking around all around my business, too. So thanks and all, but I think we're done here. JWE. So that is a direct reference to in the day planner where it said that she was going to give the documents back to JWE, to Jordan. Apparently she found a discrepancy, which I suggested in the conclusion of the first video when I was discussing who I thought was guilty. I said, she's an accountant. I'll bet she discovered that Jordan Woodard was up to something, and now it seems that is playing out. But it also seems before I do that, let's get back to this and this. So we know now that the last time, the very latest that Beth could have been alive is 10/13. We also know now, after looking at all of the information, all the documents, the last time anybody heard anything from Beth was at 9/10. So it is easy for us to come to the conclusion that Beth died sometime between 9:10 p.m. and 10:13 p.m. So that's about an hour and 3 minutes of a window where she could have died. And with that information, I emailed Gwen, and I took a screenshot of this because once you look at it in the messaging service on our dashboard, once you look at the message and close it, it erases itself. So I emailed her. I told her 9:10 to 10:13 was the time of death, and she replied, "This makes a lot of sense. Looking back through the Good Fences post, I can see that Beth commented on Ruby's video at 9:10. This information puts us on the right track to find whoever killed Beth. If only I had called her like I planned to, invited her over to talk or something, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Were you able to crack KeepSafe? I got in, but can't figure out the Cora folder. Let's leave it for now." So that tells me that we don't have what we need to get into that Cora folder. The information, this information puts us right on track to find whoever killed Beth. While you were working on the timeline, I managed to get to put together a list of suspects. Everyone I looked into has known Beth for years. I really can't imagine any of them killing my sister. I mean, we grew up with most of them, but I believe that we are looking for one of these 6 people. Joey, Sam, Joey, Martin, Clarence, or Jordan. And I have to agree with that. That was my list. Last time we made a list, I had Eddie Blue, the DJ, on the list, only because he got the council seat, and I didn't know how prestigious that was. But Eddie Blue is coming off of the list, and Sam, his daughter, is going onto the list. I also last time said that Joey looked genuine and earnest in his eulogy video that they took from the memorial ceremony. But after this, a couple of things. After this, I'm not sure. A, okay, I am not sure that Joey and Sam have a thing. There are some people with psychological disorders that believe there is a relationship or an attraction, or they believe that they are more important or more a part of a person's life than they actually are. And I've seen a lot of Sam, things that Sam has done to indicate that she has a thing for Joey. But we haven't come across anything yet that says that Joey is reciprocating. So Sam could be obsessed. I don't know. I need to see an indication from Joey that this is an actual relationship or that these feelings are mutual and not Sam being obsessive. Then there's the Jody, Martin, and Joey thing. Just because Joey isn't involved with Sam doesn't mean he's innocent. Just because, and I've seen in a different investigation, just because Beth was murdered doesn't mean she didn't do something wrong in all of this. Clearly, the town minister, Reverend Clarence Reeves? Why do I always forget this guy's name? Minister Clarence Reaver. Clearly, he has issue with Beth for doing something, and he's saying it's her fault, and he's kind of being a jerk to her, but we don't know why. So Jody and Martin have given each other alibis. So either they're being honest and they really are alibied for that time. You know, Martin saying he had to go fix the pool pump, etc., etc. He got home at 11. So there's a time frame in there. But if that he could have done it, and maybe him coming home soaking wet is suspicious and coincides with her being put in the ocean. We don't know. So all of the 6 people that she has come down to as being suspects, I think, at this point, are all very strong suspects. And then she goes on to say, I'd be lying if I said my immediate suspicion didn't lean towards Joey. I'm pretty sure something was going on between him and Sam. We don't know that for a fact. We know that Sam had interest. We know that Sam sent him a coded letter. We know that Sam sent him a necklace. But we don't know if the feeling was reciprocated. Who also seemed to have her own problems with Beth. Martin and Jody have always been a little overwhelming as in-laws. You saw Jody's note. That doesn't make Jody a murderer because she's an overbearing mother-in-law. And it's a little convenient that their alibis rely on each other. I agree, but that doesn't make them not true. And then there's Clarence, who argued with Beth the night that she died, and Jordan, who had a falling out with Beth and is a total scumbag anyway. With this list and the time frame, I can start to gather information for you on each of the suspects. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We can do this, Gwen. And sort of that's where that's sort of right where we leave off. I am behind as far as when I started signing up for Hunt a Killer. I am at least 2, possibly 3 months behind. The luxury of that is, as I conclude these, I have the ability to jump in right away and order the very next box until I get completely caught up. Once I get to the point where I am on the box that is actually being released brand new that month, I can't order ahead. But I have a feeling that the Mallory Rock Hunt a Killer situation is probably in real time at the Hunt a Killer office on its 5th or 6th month right now. And so hopefully by the end of January or into February, hopefully by March, let me just say that, hopefully by March we can be on the box that is currently the March box that Hunt a Killer is sending out. So that is the goal. I will order the next box as soon as possible. I'd like to thank anybody who stopped to check out this video. And if you have any comments at all, if you think I'm an idiot, if you think I'm on the right path, if you think there's something I could or should be doing different, that would make the presentation better, anything at all, good, bad, or indifferent, feel free to comment. Say something. Anyhow, thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you all have a great holiday.